You, Mike. Our next guests are both prolific writers. They've been best friends for decades. They work in adjoining offices in North Carolina, and they're currently on a southern multi-state road trip promoting their new novels, a journey they call the Crazy Ladies Book Tour. We welcome Peggy Payne, author of Cobalt Blue, and Carrie Knowles, author of Lillian's Garden, here to Virginia this morning. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
First, I want to talk about the Crazy Ladies Tour. First of all, the main characters in each of your books are a little bit off-kilter themselves, so it could refer to them and maybe a little bit to you for going in a car on a car tour together. How did the whole thing come about?
Well, the characters being so crazy was one thing. Our being such good friends was another. And our books came out a month apart, which, I mean, how could we not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful.
It's been delightful fun.
Yeah, Carrie, in your book, in the second line of the book, your main character gets called crazy.
Right, she does, she does, and she is. And both women, in both of the women in both of the books, they go off, but they come back as better people. And that's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. You know, as crazy as they are, we're not crazy. We're really okay.
I just dress crazy.
Yeah, right. I wanted to talk about that because you have kind of narrowed your wardrobe choice by choice as you go on this tour and on the book tour. Tell us about the Cobalt Blue dress.
Well, the title is Cobalt Blue. I think I was attached to the title before I got the book going very well. I love the color, and the book is about a woman who has the life force just go off in her. It just erupts after she's been depressed for a while. She has a religious experience, and here it comes. So this just feels electric to me. It feels like the right thing.
It's wonderful. Now, when I was reading some of the reviews and some of the discussions about your book, there were some comparisons to 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
So this book has a lot of sensuality and sexuality in it.
There is quite a lot. Quite a lot. And my mother's being a good sport about it. But it was fun to write. I didn't exactly plan it this way, but this character just got right frisky.
And you also introduced us to something called Kundalini.
Right. Religion, spirituality seems to well up in my novels, even if I'm writing a very sexy story. And this energy that goes off in her is called by Tantric Hindus and Buddhists Kundalini. Mm-hmm. It's located at the base of the spine. What it does is rise up, and then you get very energized, self-actualized. She's not ready for it, which is what gets her into trouble. She has not been meditating and doing Kundalini yoga.
Now, in writing this book, what kinds of changes did you find coming in your life?
Well, since I started it so long ago, quite a lot. I have been working on this book on and off for many years. I started it in 1987. I published 2 other books in the interim, so you could say I grew up. Mm-hmm. I got more comfortable with the subject matter, fortunately. That's another thing.
Carrie, what did you think of your friend when she presented this book to you and the idea and said, this is what I'm working on?
Well, it's a frisky book, you know. We've been friends for over 35 years, and we meet once. Before we had an office together, we would meet once a week for lunch, and we would talk about our work. And it's really wonderful to have another writer to talk with, because somebody who's not a writer doesn't understand that it might take 10 years to write a book, and your family says, you're still working on that book? So, you know, the books evolved, both books evolved over time, and not shocking. You let your characters grow up and do what they're going to do. Mm-hmm.
And in your book, Lillian's Garden, you create some interesting characters, and Lillian is not the main character.
No, Lillian is not the main character. The main character is Helen. And like many women, Helen takes care of everyone but herself. And she even takes care of her deceased mother-in-law's garden, which is Lillian's garden. So that becomes the main image in the book, of taking care of this garden, which is not hers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we need to learn to take care of our own dreams. And that's the point of the book, is Helen does that.
And you create some interesting characters. You've got a fire and brimstone preacher.
I do. I have a very bad preacher, you know, and the preacher is the devil, and this sheriff is the angel, and it's kind of it was a great deal of fun to find out just how bad this preacher is, and just how good this sheriff could be and could, you know, help this family come to a better place.
So where did the seed of your novel come from?
Oh, that's such a long story. I'll make the story very short. I grew up in Michigan, and next to the little town I grew up in was adjacent to one of the largest mental institutes in the country. At one point, this mental institute, Eloise Mental Institute, housed 10,000 patients. And what I remember as a child was that everyone pretended like this mental institute was invisible. There was great shame involved in the mental institute, and that sort of sense of shame stuck with me. And I think that that was at the core of what moved me to write this novel about mental illness and depression, and how we are ashamed by it, and families are shamed by it. The main character's husband is so shamed he doesn't tell his grown children where the mother has gone, and which causes a great deal of problem.
It creates a lot of tension in the family already.
A lot of tension, yeah.
And I understand you're already working on your next novel.
Well, the next novel is actually coming out in September. And when we go on Saturday morning, the Saturday afternoon we'll be in Newport News. It's sort of hard to keep straight every place we're going to be.
Yeah, driving around in the car all over the South.
Right. And on Friday, when we're at the Book People, and there's 2 chapters out of my next book, which are not in my next book, and the only way to get them, and that's Ashwin's Rug. These are the missing chapters. And I give them to people who come to readings, so I'm hoping everybody will come.
So we'll get a preview of the
You'll
book
get a
that's coming
preview
out
of the
in
other book that'll
September.
come out in the end of September, yes.
Now, when you're doing a reading like this, how do you choose what you're going to read out of Cobalt Blue?
I take a pencil and
marks out the bad part.
Yeah, I have marked out sections that I just am not comfortable reading, so I skip those. And I tell people at the beginning to relax. I'm not Meryl Streep, and I'm not going to try to read these.
Kind of like in class. Let's read to ourselves silently
Yeah, right.
for a little while. Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming in to see us today, and best of luck with the books, Lillian's Garden and Cobalt Blue. Love the dress, absolutely.
Thank you,
Let's tell people where they can see you here in Richmond. You can meet authors Peggy, Payne, and Carrie Jean Knowles here in Richmond. Tomorrow, they'll be signing copies of their novel and reading and discussing from 5 to 7 at Book People. That's on Granite Avenue. Books are great. Thank you so much for coming in today to see us.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.